Okay, hopefully this is the video where this thing will finally start up and we'll be able to hear it run. Otherwise this would be a pointless video. But I can't just throw in a clip of us starting it up, so I'm going to show kind of last few things we got to get done here before this thing can actually fire up. It's just a bunch of little miscellaneous things that aren't the most interesting, but got to get done. So first few of those things I'm starting on, that I already started on, are a neutral safety switch. So the other day I made this pretty sweet little bracket that will mount underneath the clutch pedal. Got our neutral safety switch just like that. That'll tuck up there behind the clutch pedal, so when you push down, obviously it'll push that in. That was tricky. This is a little stuff that takes time, but is obviously necessary and what some people don't see. So I'll be able to finish that up. I gotta make a little arm off the clutch pedal to obviously push the button in. Then I got this thing here for the line lock, but I don't really want to put it on the wheel because I don't want to have the cord wrap around, and I can't really run up to the shifter because I have carpet I can hide the wiring underneath. So I think I'm gonna trim this down, wire it in, and then I'm gonna make a little bracket that this will kind of hang on from the dash, maybe somewhere up there. And that way when I need it, obviously I can just unhook it, bring it down, hold it next to the shifter with my other hand, and then I think that'll work pretty good. But over here we have the list of everything that's left. So almost everything is crossed off. There's just a bunch of other little stuff that really, like I said, takes time, and there is no way around that. So I got the neutral safety switch all finished, wired up, and installed. My little bracket turned out pretty sweet. And then I went ahead and welded this tab on the clutch pedal. That'll work out perfectly. I made a little kind of like hook bracket type deal for the line lock button here, so it'll just kind of hang on like so, and then when I need it I can just drag it out like this, use it. I think that'll work out pretty sweet. It doesn't look the best kind of just hanging down like that. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but what are you gonna do? I really didn't want to mount it on the wheel, so every time I turn that giant coil would be spinning with it, so that's kind of the best option there. And then I had to pull the column out again the other night for two reasons. One being the shifter. I took the shifter out, obviously because I didn't want it in there, because now I got the shifter down there. But yeah, it turns out then the back part of the column there spins, and then half the time you can't get the key to come out. So went ahead, just put the shifter in for now. I know you can get like a column shifter like delete piece that'll get rid of this up here, as well as a shifter. So I'd like to do that down the road, but for now, just to get it going. I mean, it's not horrible. It'll work. I thought about like cutting it flush kind of with the column there so it wouldn't be as noticeable, but then I was like, well, what if it gets stuck not in park, and then I'm not able to get it back into park because there's not enough leverage. And I'm like, that's the last thing I want to happen, is for me to not be able to get the key out when I'm somewhere. And then we went ahead and put a new ignition tumbler in as well, because the old one was 50 years old and it's kind of a 50-50 shot if you can get the key in and out of there. So that one is nice and smooth now. I'm happy with how all those little things turned out. In the engine bay here, my dad went ahead and wrapped all the wiring in this wire loom stuff. That looks pretty nice. Still a little bit to do back here. Just got to do backup lights. I got to finish plumbing my washer fluid hoses here, so that area will be a little bit cleaned up. And then got the clutch reservoir mounted. We were like struggling to figure out where to mount this, because it comes like with a little it's not even a 90, it's, I don't even know like what, it's a weird angled piece that comes out with the hose, and they're supposed to mount it on the firewall. Well, with the angle of it, and it's just kind of set in there with an O-ring, if I wanted to put it here where it wouldn't hit the hood when the hood was down, it would like pull that fitting out, and I didn't want obviously fluid leaking everywhere. So it turns out you can actually just pop this right on top like that, and bam, issue solved. I don't know why we didn't think of that or didn't do that a while ago, but I'll take it. Looks pretty good. And then throttle cable I've been working on as well. And this is what happens when you don't want your throttle cable to go over the top of the intake because you think it looks ugly. You end up spending hours making brackets to hopefully solve that issue. So I got these little like A-shaped brackets here. This is tricky to make it work, but you can see that one there. So that'll hold the cable off to the side here. Originally, I just had them kind of up against the fuel rail here, but then the throttle cable is all the way over here, and to make the angle work to go to the throttle body here was not gonna work. So last thing I have to do for this is make a bracket that'll hold this fitting up like so, and then I think that angle, that should work. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of skeptical. I just never really liked how they look hanging over the top of the intake. So I'll do that, figure out how to attach it to the pedal, and then that thing will be checked off the list as well. Oh, this is why this thing is taking forever to make happen, because I just spent the past 3 days making that. This is rendition 2 of it, which I ended up scrapping, and this is the 3rd one here. So I don't know why this throttle cable has been such a pain. This one, I mean, yeah, this one just looks like junk. I don't even know. I thought this was a good idea to begin with, but essentially I kind of goofed this one up and had the cable too much to the left, and it was like right here, and then the actual angle of the cable came in at too much of a harsh angle, and it was rubbing, and it would have sliced through this fitting, or would have started grinding down the end of the throttle body here. So that wasn't gonna work. And then the other one was gonna work because I had a bracket off this and then a bracket off this, and that made the angle on the back too much of a greater angle, which I really wanted, because I don't kind of just like it when it's just like in there loose. I think it looks kind of sloppy. That's why I didn't like it over the top, but turns out that's kind of how you need a throttle cable. So this right here is the final bracket here. I think it turned out pretty good. I went ahead and, I mean, I probably could just bought the ICT one that's essentially the same thing, but I did not want to spend $50 on it. I like this one a little bit better because it tucks it up and it keeps the cable from going way out to the side here. This one tucks down. I got it tucked behind the intake there. That looks pretty sweet. I ended up having to put a brace into the head on the side here, which I was hoping not to do, but it was just too loose without it. So I got the cable all adjusted now. Let's see if I can try to get this on video. But yeah, it works perfectly. So there we go, wide open throttle. Woohoo, pretty happy with that. I ended up not having to make anything for the pedal there. The cable just kind of had a little fitting on the end that went in the cable, and it worked out perfectly. So now that is done, I can prime paint that and finally move on to the next thing. Okay, little update here. Got my throttle cable bracket all adjusted, situated. Got a throttle cable all dialed in. That works perfectly. What else did I do here? Got my radiator hoses figured out. Radiator hoses suck. I never liked dealing with them. Not fun. I went through like 8 different trips to try to find something. Went through 260 pages of a PDF to try to find something that would work, and writing down part numbers and makes and models, and I came up with nothing. So here we are. Tricky part was, because this is 1.5, where the inlet on the water pump is 1.25, so trying to find one with a reducer, it just wasn't happening. I found the perfect one that has the 90s and it's a perfect size, but it was 1.5 all the way around, so it didn't work. So I got this little reducer here that'll work. I'm gonna go into painting this black, and I'm gonna get new hose clamps, so that'll look a lot better, but I'm just gonna use this to get it started here. Bottom hose, I actually got lucky and I cut a piece off of another longer hose that I just kind of brought the old slant hose, because the old slant hose kind of had the same shape. It just needed a little more angled down, so I brought that to the store. I got lucky first try, but the top hose, which you would think would be easier, took forever to find. So both those things are done. I ended up getting my washer tank and washer system, I guess you could say, plumbed. I made a little gasket plug thing there, so I know it's very exciting. But yeah, right now we're about to go ahead and pre-oil this thing, so hopefully we can start it up here soon. Get the valve covers off, got our little it's like a weed sprayer bucket to build up pressure, got a line. Had to take the alternator off, but there is a port down there. Got a fitting, plug that in there. So hopefully it all goes well with that, and then we can start this thing up here soon. Look at that. Works beautifully. Not too bad for a $5. Ooh, I'm getting air. $5 little pre-oiler system. Got that fitting on Amazon. Hey, this thing sit in the basement, cleaned it out, and bam, it works. Some days I hate this car. Mainly hate myself, but I swear this stupid thing does not want to be in this car. Down to the littlest of things. This is so stupid. My God. Okay, now that is finally out, I will be finding a new valve cover bolt and is back to our regularly scheduled programming. Yeah, you deserve that car. So we were hoping to fire this thing up the other day, but we ran into a couple of issues, which I mean is expected. Luckily, nothing too major. So the first issue we had was a fuel pump. That was probably the biggest issue. Had the fuel pump power and gas gauge wire flip-flopped, so the fuel pump wasn't working, which sucks. Just put gas in the tank. Luckily, it wasn't a whole lot. Dropped the tank, switched those, put it back in. That's situated. Had 2 ignition wires flip-flopped, so it would crank over when it was just in the run position and not in the start position on the column. Got that fixed. Had a couple leaks on the radiator here. I just put water in it. Had a couple leaks by the heater core, and then thermostat on the bottom side was leaking, so drained all that, popped it off, reseated the O-ring. Hopefully that works. While I was at it, I also repainted that black. That looks nice. So now, go ahead and program up the Holly here. It looks like there's, in the back, I think there was like 3 or maybe 4 pages of what to do. It's kind of cool. It actually walks you through each and every screen to kind of program it and set it up. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Hopefully that doesn't take too long, and then with any luck, we'll get this thing started up tonight. Give it a shot. That's a good sign. Yeah, not much else to say there. A couple things we still got to figure out and whatnot. I've rewatched the videos of it running like 10 times already. This thing sounds quiet on camera, I swear. I promise. It does not sound as good as it does in person, but that probably goes for anything. So, oh man, I can't wait to just floor it. And I think it's gonna sound so sick. I'm excited for that, but there are a couple things to figure out still. One of them is alternator's not charging for some reason. I think this alternator's shot. I mean, it could be. This came off of, I don't know, one of the 2 engines I tore apart. What was the other issue we had? Oh yeah, fuel regulator slash filter. I think just because of the angle it's on, the line coming out of it is leaking. So we still got to figure that out. I mean, here's my dad's spare. We got the same in both cars. Tried to keep as much stuff as we could similar between this car and this car, just for ease of, I guess, working on and maintenance. And if something were to break on this car, well, you know, we got a spare for it in this, and kind of vice versa deal. So it works out. But yeah, the fitting that goes into this side is leaking. It's just kind of a little snap fitting. It's metal, but then it's like plastic on the end. So I just think it's because of the angle that it's on. So we'll get that figured out. That was the only, or one of 2 fuel leaks we had, so not too bad. The other one just had to tighten up a fitting, and that solved it. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. The only other thing that's a little bit weird is the fans are on when the fuel pump goes on, and then they just stay on even when it's not up at temp. So we'll get that figured out along with the alternator. Other than that, I was just kind of messing with the Holly, trying to figure it all out and whatnot. It's pretty cool reading through the book, trying to dial everything in. Yeah, I don't know, adjusting the idle. And then in that first video, you probably heard like a loud, like kind of like squealing sound, almost kind of sound like a belt squeal or like a leak. Something with the idle screw here in the intake. So that's what that was. I mean, you can literally hear it over the exhaust in person and in the video. So just messed with the idle screw here, got that situated, so I'm pretty happy with that. We'll have to figure out, I don't know honestly if this thing has a built-in rev limiter or how or where you can set that. I still gotta figure that out and read up on it. Haven't done all my homework yet. But yeah, still a couple things to figure out, and then there is probably 5 to 10 major things that still need to happen before this thing will actually drive. I mean, steering, seats, no, I just completely lost train of thought. Oh, drive shaft. So yeah, there's still a bunch of things. Hopefully maybe within, I don't know, maybe 2 to 3 weeks here, this thing will actually be drive, and hopefully that will be the next video.